Welcome to A Quest for Metal. Today we are ranking Abigor albums from my least favourite to my favourite. Now this Austrian black metal band, they put out a lot of quality releases, and we're going to try and weed out the stinkers from the glorious ones. And spoiler alert, there's not a lot of stinkers. Some say it's a flawless discography. I disagree. I think there is maybe one or two albums that I'm just not a big fan of. But the rest, pretty damn good, so it's quite hard to pick a top one. But I want your guys' help, so let me know down below what's your favourite Abigor album, what's your least favourite, and do you agree with my list? Let me know, and let's get stuck in. So, may not come as a surprise for the last place, but before the last place, there is also the compilation album, Four Keys to a Foul Reich, which I'm not going to include because it's a compilation album of EPs and stuff, and there's a lot of instrumentals in it, so that doesn't count. So move that out of the way, that'll be last. The actual last proper album by Abigor, Satanized. Of course it is. It's most people's last pick. If you like it, that's very cool. I don't like it. I don't like the industrial, experimental side of the band. Similar with Bluetooth Nord, I wasn't a big fan of the middle kind of era of Bluetooth Nord. They're still good, but not as good as the traditional black metal stuff, or the synthy black metal stuff. Same here with Abigor, but this one is way worse than anything like that. This one is just a mess, it's chaotic. The vocals aren't even that good on it, it just feels just very chaotic and messy. Those are the two words to describe this album. Not very structured, all over the place, just not very fun to listen to. So this is one of the albums by the band. It's not very good. It's not a very good album, and I'd avoid it. Well, I say I'd avoid it, but someone might love it. Someone who's not me might actually love the album. And if you do, kudos to you. For me, easily last. So next up is Fractal Possession. Ooh, some people really love this album. Me, not so much. Similar kind of vein as Satanized, except executed way better. This album I can enjoy. I can actually enjoy this album. It's not as messy as Satanized. It still is an industrial experimental album though, which I'm not big into. If I'm going to listen to something like that, I'll listen to like Arcturus, you know, or listen to The Work That Transforms God. Not this, and not Satanized. But again, way more structured, way more polished, beefier sound. The vocals are better, even though it still has that kind of industrial flair on it. It's just not as overpowering or as messy as it is on Satanized. But it's not my kind of music. Not really a big fan of it. So again, yeah, if you love it, cool. I've seen some rankings where this is like number 1 or like higher. Good for fucking you. For me, it's coming down here. It's meh. Next up, I'm gonna have to read because they have stupidly long titles. Time is the Sulfur in the Veins of the Saint, an excursion on Satan's fragmenting principle. Long title, short album. It's about 38 minutes long. There's only like 2 songs on it. Again, this is in that more experimental side of the band, and after here we get into all the albums where I love. So this is the last album of the ones which are kind of like, it's alright, because it still has that kind of spice to it, which I'm English, you know, I want it plain as fuck. Splat brown sauce and ketchup over everything. Ruin that shit. That's the way I love it. It is cool though, this kind of futuristic black metal approach to end of the world. It does feel like that on this album. And give it credit, I actually quite enjoy this one. This is the best of that kind of era, and I'd listen to this one again. I'd listen to this one again. Don't hate it as much as the others. I think it's pretty okay. I'm not going to say it's good, I'm going to say it's pretty okay. But from here on out, these are fucking good. Chronicles of Perdition is next. I know that's not the proper title. It's like Hollenzang or something. Hold My Wang. This one's great. Some people slam on this one, but I love it. You know, it's kind of like a return to form, I think, in this one. There's a lot of like slower tempos in parts, kind of moodier sections, which I really love because I love my doom. I love my funeral doom, death doom, melodic doom, and any of that shit. I love it. This feels like that, you know? It's got a very dark atmosphere, very kind of it's very melodic, actually. It's a very melodic album, and I appreciate that. Big improvement on the experimental stuff. Really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna keep listening to it, so yeah. 1 thumb up, 2 thumbs up from Questy. Next up we have Motif Lucifer. Yeah, that one. This this when it gets hard. This is when it gets hard, because I could easily put this like number 1 or something. I adore this album. This is like a one-song album, kind of like, you know, Crimson by Edge of Sanity, or something like that. Or Winter's Gate by Insomnium. It feels just so surreal. It does feel hellish as well. It's got this hellish black metal. The production is beefy and punchy, so much better than that other shit. Production, out of this world. The song split into sections, out of this world, flow seamlessly into each other. It's one hellish trip, and you're in it all the way through. Buckle yourselves in, boys, because this trip is getting fucking hellish. Loved it. I could easily put it higher, but they have so many good albums, it's only coming here. Next up is Supreme Immortal Art. That's right, one of the classic ones. Kind of like middle for me, but I say middle, it's really goddamn good. It's like an 8 out of 10 for me. The reason this one's a bit lower than some of the others is the overly bombastic, symphonic nature, kind of like bashing you over the head with it. Which I still enjoy, you know, I like Dimmu Borgir, you know, I like that kind of stuff. Cradle of Filth's great. But Abigor has so many good albums that I can't put everything as number 1. Like, these 2 albums I just mentioned, really goddamn great. I could put them higher, but the others are just better. So, the only nitpick for this one is that it's kind of too symphonic. It's kind of just too overblown and dramatic. But if you love that, then you'll love it, and you might like this album as number 1. For me, that's a nitpick. It's only coming here due to a fucking nitpick. Next up is Channeling the Contestants of Satan. This is the first album I got into by Abigor, and I didn't like it. I didn't like this album at all. I was like, Abigor, this sounds like shit. I didn't listen to them for ages, and then I got back into them. Then I revisited this album, which I previously hated on for some reason, and it's amazing. What was I thinking? Was I smoking crack? Was I a crack addict back then? Possibly. I love it now. It's got such this kind of moody atmosphere. It's dark, oppressive atmosphere all throughout the album. All the songs kind of bleed into each other as well. It's not a one-song album, but all the songs just feel like they fit. It's way less kind of synthy than Supreme Immortal Art, so it gets points for that. It just has, again, like this dark atmosphere around it, which I love my atmospheric shit. You know, I love my Drooks and my Galabraids and Sails and shit like that. Has this kind of feeling to this album, and it's dark as hell, and I love it. Don't get me started on the riffs. The riffs on here, diabolical. But yeah, let's get into some more Abigor albums. Invoke the Dark Age. Invoke the Dark Age is next, a debut by the band, which has this raw sound to it. Fucking raw sound to it. Reminding me of, I don't know, like Burzum's debut. Something like that. Death Crush. It has this, maybe not Death Crush, but it has this kind of energy and just quality about it which stands apart from all the other albums they've done. It does feel kind of unique, this album, and I love it for that. I love it when an album can stand out on its own, and this one does. You play this to someone, they'll be like, this is fantastic. You play them with the other Abigor stuff, they'll be like, this is also fantastic, but a different sound to this one. Infusing that pure aggression and rawness with the melody. Beautiful. Let's talk about Weeping Midwinter Tears. Holy shit, what a beautiful track. Amazing album from start to finish. I'd be happy if someone had this number 1. I'd be happy if it was my number 1. But for me, it's coming here. 3 albums left. So let's talk about the newest one, A Saint Slayer's Songbook. This is the latest album. It's in the top 3. What are you doing, Questy? You've gone mad. Perhaps. But this album's amazing. This album is so punchy, the production is so goddamn good in this. Maybe that's why it's so high, but the songs just feel more impactful. It's way better than the other comeback album. This is like the better comeback album. It's like hellish, like Channeling Quintessence, but you can hear it better. It's like got this just bombastic, furious, hellish sound to it, which just makes you just want to headbang the entire way through. The riffs in it, glorious. Just the sound of it, man. The sound of it is insane. This is one of the greatest black metal comebacks of all time. I adore this album to pieces. Could easily be number 1 as well. Cracking the top 3. Such a good album. Go listen to it. Number 2, we have from the Twilight Kingdom, which is I don't know how to say it. But from the Twilight Kingdom, this is generally considered the magnum opus, and I can see why. It is flawless. This has that kind of early melodic black metal feel to it, kind of like an Emperor. It's very similar to, say, like in the Nightside Eclipse or Anthems to the Welcome at Dusk. Sure, it has that bombast, and sure, it has those synths in it, and it even has female singing in, but it's not overbearing, it's not overblown, it's not bashing you over the head with it. It's just, it's there, but they use it perfectly. They use the synths and they use the female vocals and everything like that perfectly within the songs. It just flows amazingly. The melodies in here, oh my god, some of the best melodies you'll hear in black metal. This is one of the best black metal albums of all time. It's just, it's magical. It's magical. It's, you know, it's like a 9 out of 10 for me. I adore it. I'm going to keep listening to this album, keep playing it. But it's not my number one, because my number one happens to be, wait for it, a spacey one. Opus 4. You know, when it starts out with this kind of space-like melody, and from the album cover, come on. Was there any doubt that it wasn't going to be my top? Come on, was there any doubt? It's got to be Opus 4. There's no contest for this one. It's kind of dissonant in parts as well. It's like a spacey dissonant album. Bands such as Deathspell crossed with Megacognite and mixed them together. You got this fucking album. It's amazing. You got cosmic melodies on here, and you got one of the best outros ever made. One of the best outros. The guitar in that, ooh, makes you weep. Yep. Opus 4. What can I say? It's just like the first two albums. Beautiful melodies, great singing, but it's got a spacey theme, and it's more dissonant, and it's more interesting, so I've got to give it to Opus 4. That is my favourite Abigor album of all time. So, what did you think of my list? Would you move some things around? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below, and we'll see you again on another Quest for Metal.